This is the giant Category 5 Hurricane Dorian seen from space. The hurricane forms in the Atlantic in late August 2019. On September the 1st, it passes over the northern part of the Bahamas. Hurricane Hunter C-130 aircraft from the US Air Force Reserve launch missions flying into the heart of the storm. The eye of Dorian is approximately 15 miles across. The hurricane hunters pass through the eye, which towers above the aircraft in what is called the stadium effect. One of the strongest Caribbean hurricanes on record, Dorian has scarred the Bahamas and its people in every possible way. This is the story of how local, British and the world's military responded. At the forefront of the relief effort is RFA Mounts Bay. Its crew hasn't stopped. Its Wildcat helicopter is delivering vital humanitarian aid, including water and shelter kits. Personnel are landing on the worst-hit islands and getting those supplies to isolated areas. The Bahamas is made up of 700 islands spread across 100,000 square miles of ocean, so it is a huge area. And this, the island of New Providence, couldn't look more different than to those islands like Great Abaco that have felt the full force of Hurricane Dorian. The UK High Commission liaises with RFA Mounts Bay and all the British teams to coordinate efforts. The Commissioner had only been in post for a few days when Hurricane Dorian hit.
My job was to come here to open the mission because prior to my arrival we didn't have an embassy here, and my job was to open it, recruit the staff, find the office space. And within 2 weeks of being here it was clear that Hurricane Dorian was on its way, and the mission's changed completely from one of opening an embassy to one of coordinating a humanitarian response. Once Hurricane Dorian hit, RFA Mounts Bay was following the storm, and they were following the hurricane knowing that they were going to be the first responders in after. They arrived in Abaco pretty much the day after the hurricane had left and moved on to Grand Bahama. The seas were really high and it was actually quite hard for them, and they were having to pull out and get close to the islands as best as they could. And it was very difficult conditions, but as soon as the seas allowed them to do so, they were landing aid, they were overflying the area to recce it, and they were trying to help the people in most desperate need in the immediate aftermath of the destruction caused by Dorian. Mounts has been doing a few things. I mean, basically it has been providing that distribution of non-food items, giving medical attention to people who require it, and also clearing some of the area, so a bit of road and other access clearing to allow other agencies to move around.
The capital city of the Bahamas, Nassau, is where many of the survivors are brought.
I was in the middle of the storm. I was locked down in my apartment and felt sure that I was safe with my hurricane impact windows. However, the surge busted the windows and the water came in a hurry. I was able to put my wife on my back and swim to safety.
I can only imagine what must be going through your mind right now.
Well, I'm concerned about the human suffering. Forget about the houses and the boats and all the material things. I'm concerned about rebuilding the human spirit.
Right now, I'm still traumatized when I sleep, and right now, the family got to go to counseling, because it was serious. All of my brothers lost all their house, everything they had. We have nothing else to go on, but we got our life.
As the aid effort accelerates, a team of Royal Navy medics is deployed from the UK to RFA Mounts Bay.
The personnel that are going on board, they're going to set up the hospital that's on board and make sure that is available for use, any follow-on medical requirements in the hurricane season, and also reinforcing the engineers that are on board the ship to provide greater levels of humanitarian aid and disaster relief assistance on the islands.
Coordination is key in crises like these. That's happening at the National Emergency Management Agency. This is the first time cameras have been allowed to take a look inside. Representatives from militaries around the world have been sent in to help. and the UK team are providing key advice as the authorities here work together with a range of partners.
My role here is to try and assimilate all the information that is happening across government and in all sectors of the emergency state functions. And I can then feed that back to the crew on Mounts Bay to ensure that they understand the government's priorities. Mounts Bay has done a wonderful task of clearing the routes from Marsh Harbour North along the road up to Cooperstown, which has allowed us to get aid right across North Abaco. We've seen more forces arrive. The Dutch have 2 ships coming with French and Germans on board. We have the Jamaican Defence Force and Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force, and they're here really to provide security for all those NGOs that are now on both the islands.
Currently, the Defence Force has been involved in security operations, securing our airports, our harbours and static sites and facilities, essential facilities such as fuel depots and food stores and communities.
The more we move in sync, the better we can support the thousands of Bahamians, residents and non-residents, who are depending on us at this time. We will not rest until lives are restored, homes are rebuilt, and communities are rejuvenated.
We are extremely pleased with the contribution that Mounts Bay has made. She was one of the first on scene and she jumped right into action. We like the spirit of the ship's company and the Royal Marines, and they got in and really brought relief and comfort to those in the islands. And they conducted a lot of search and rescue operations and transport and shipment of goods and deliveries at a time when people were really in need. What we're looking for is to assist with developing the infrastructure of the island communities, and so that they can get the resources that they need to continue living.
After 9 days, RFA Mounts Bay leaves the Bahamas, her stocks of aid depleted. What the military are calling Operation Baritone saw Mounts Bay help more than 7,700 people. Overall, the ship supplied 100 tonnes of water, 3,000 ration packs, 1,000 hygiene kits, 900 shelter kits, 2,500 litres of diesel, 1,000 kilograms of medical supplies and 4 generators. The team coordinating the operation remain ready.
Well, although the hurricane, the highest risk is on the 10th of September, statistically, the hurricane season runs from August to the end of October. And in that period, the Joint Force Headquarters is on high readiness with other units from UK Defence to be deployed as quickly as possible to the overseas territories in the Caribbean to make sure that we can provide disaster relief effort as soon as possible, and preferably be in place before the hurricanes strike. It's calming down. People are making sure that they know what are the most important pieces to reach, the people to reach, and how that they are going to turn this from a current crisis into a much longer-term recovery.
Mounts Bay might be gone, but from this centre, militaries from across the world, including the UK, coordinate their ongoing response. The Royal Navy's ice patrol ship arrives as the rain clears. She's able to begin delivering 38 tonnes of aid gathered by the people of Bermuda, a community that knows all too well the deep scars a hurricane leaves. Since 2014, they've had 4 direct hits.
We were in Bermuda when the Bermudan government asked us about any ability for us to help them. They wanted to, obviously as an island nation, to make donations from their island to the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian, and they were struggling to get a vessel to take it down there. We were transiting from the UK, deploying down to Antarctica, and our next port of call was in America, and we were heading this way in any case. We had nothing in our holds, and it seemed like the best thing to do to put the 2 capabilities together, and for the Royal Navy to enable the Bermudans to help the Bahamas.
Personally, living through Hurricane Ivan back in 2004 on my home island of Grenada, I know the feeling of that after hurricane effect on the people. So with me, I wanted to come out here with that zeal, with that push, that spirit, that drive to help the people of the Bahamas and deliver these aids.
And what was going through your mind when you pulled up to port?
It means a lot for me to be here helping the people of this small island, because I'm from a small island myself. And like I said before, I experienced a hurricane, so I know the feeling. So any little that could be done, we're happy to do it as a team, not just me, but as a team on a whole. Yeah.
So we have 89 pallets on board, and we have 29 of them are all dry food. We have other pallets of water, baby formula, nappies. We have chainsaws, generators. We have some animal feed, and we have some school supplies. So Bermuda knows exactly what you need in a hurricane. So the original plan was to have the supplies brought to Nassau and then taken up to Abaco Island. But a lot of residents from Abaco have now relocated to New Providence Island, which is where we are now, and they're in shelters.
We shouldn't underestimate the psychological impact of what's happened here. It's very easy to put a sticking plaster over the immediate aftermath, and that's what we're doing in terms of providing for the immediate need. But longer term, the people in the Bahamas will need real aid and support to make sure that they can put this community back on its feet.
Your family suffered through a hurricane themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, unfortunately, my parents were living in the British Virgin Islands. They retired there some time ago, and in 2017 our house was destroyed. My stepmother was very badly injured, and unfortunately the scars, both physical and mental, of that still are a trouble today. I'm really proud of my ship's company who have wanted to be part of this.
Nassau Airport is a hub of activity for aid agency flights. 2 weeks after Dorian strikes, over 50 fatalities are confirmed, but over 1,300 are still missing. Most of the people evacuated from Great Abaco and Grand Bahama are accommodated in shelters on Nassau. We're heading more than 100 miles away to Abaco, one of the islands worst hit by Hurricane Dorian. As we land, the first glimpse of destruction. This is what's left. The devastation is jaw-dropping. The fundamentals of life wrecked. Emergency services devastated. And the island's tourist hotspots ravaged. 2 weeks ago, this was a luxury golf course. The golf buggies that survive are for some the only means of transport, and those that remain will never be the same again.
I thought that was the end of the world, to be honest. I thought we was about to die, but we survived.
How's everyone else on this island doing? What's the spirit amongst the local community right now?
Well, mostly everybody went to Nassau. They're staying in the shelters. They are crying to come back home, but there's no home to come back to.
What are you going to do now?
We're going to try to build back. Nothing else to do but get the place cleaned up and build back soon as possible.
How are you doing personally?
Well, living to friend houses, trying to find a meal. We're on our way there now to go get some water, to wash a little bit of clothes and bathe and whatnot.
At Treasure Key, Team Rubicon, a UK outfit mainly made up of ex-military personnel, they're helping with the relief effort.
In the last few years, I have been to a lot of disasters all over the world, and this is on a par, if not worse, than the worst destruction I have ever seen. You're speaking to people who have lost absolutely everything. They've lost their family, they've lost their home, and all they've got is the clothes that they're standing in. I think it's important for us as humanitarians, although we're part of the, working with the UN as an international NGO, what's really important is we show some compassion and we try and support people and let them know from our experience that things will get better.
Maybe we can clear it out.
Dutch military personnel joined the relief effort, taking over from RFA Mounts Bay. But it's an international effort.
We're focusing now on the bridge. They were not able to build a bridge. They did not have the equipment for it. We arranged a local contractor with heavy machines, and then now we are making a bypass.
This
This is the damage that Hurricane Dorian has done to just one of the local primary schools here. Much of it is destroyed, and right now the German military are starting the clear-up operation, but much of the rest of the buildings are still intact. Their plan is to make it safe so local people can actually start to use this school as a shelter.
My first question is, where are the guys or the people who has been here? But as far as I know, everyone who has been to the school has been evacuated to any other island, I don't know.
And overall, how many German troops are here on Abaco?
On Abaco we are about 50. Actually, we've been on an exercise in the Caribbean, but then the storm happened and we changed the plan to assist the humanitarian aid on the Abaco island, and we'll stay here for a couple more days.
In the aftermath of their nation's darkest of chapters, the motto of the Bahamas is what they're now trying to achieve: forward, upward, onward, together. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.